Hi, everyone. Thank you for making it here at on one of our new targeted trainings. A lot of cool new things going on here with Retrospect. In addition to the store-centric acquisition, everything else, we have a lot of new features that sometimes when we're going over our certified trainings and our general trainings, we would like to be able to get you guys additional information on specific features that kind of show the benefits and values of some of the latest technologies that we have built into our Retrospect Backup software. My name is Werner. I'm the Director of Sales North America. I'm going to go over some quick slides, just generally talking about the benefits of a proactive backup, what it is, when it can be utilized, and the advances that we've had with that in regards to proactive AI capabilities. And then we have Robin Mayoff, who's our Director of Technical Support, who will actually be showing you a demo of it. This will be available, posted. If you would like to share it afterwards, we'll have it available for you guys. If you have any questions at the end, just let us know, and we'll be sure to respond to those. So we'll get going here. Basically, ProactiveAI, it allows for faster and smarter backups of the retrospect proactive scripts. And to quickly kind of get into that, I guess we should start off with the problems. So, I mean, a lot of the issues are nowadays is a lot of the critical data is actually stored on desktop and laptops. And issues with those means, you're dealing with stolen laptops, you're dealing with drive failures, workstations coming in and out of networks. I actually had my sister and stuff actually owned a company and had a remote worker that had a laptop stolen right out of her car. And it wasn't just the fact that they lost the data. They also had no backup of it. There was no security on it. They had no way to recover that data. And because it was a remote contact, a remote worker, they lost over 6 months worth of actual data from what they were working on. So massive, again, whether it's just a simple drive failure where you need to get a recovery, which that's happened to me, or dumping coffee on your computer, which happens. Again, it's very, very important to get this kind of data and protect it correctly. And with our proactive script, you're going to see how that's going to simply solve a lot of these solutions. In addition, right now, when you're dealing with these kind of data losses and stuff, there's been a lot of kind of solutions, right? The idea is, okay, well, and that was actually when we were part of, our EMC way back. They had this server-based solution that was, okay, well, Werner, when you have your data, you need to take it and move it off to the server. We'll back up everything from there. Now, I was starting at that point and kind of understood what servers were and everything else. And they sent me some sort of link, and I dragged some files over there. But when I actually was traveling and my drive blew out and I got back to the office, I sat there and I said, okay, and actually, ironically, it was Robin who's doing the demo today. It was actually there at the time. And I said, hey, my drive blew out, and so it stopped working. So I went to the EMC guys first, and they said, hey, we got a new corporate image. We stuck everything on there, and I'm looking at my brand new blank computer with no information on it except for 2 files. And I'm like, I don't understand. Where's the rest of my info? And they go, well, we told you to move everything over to the server. And I said, well, the problem is that I didn't, because I didn't totally understand what you were talking about. And, that's where, again, this idea of having the end users, move files over on their own and expecting them to understand even what's going on. Maybe if they're experienced enough and understand enough, that's a good thing. But again, them assuming that I could do this and stuff wasn't something that actually happened, So I came back to our office with this 2 files on my brand new drive and reached out to Robin and said, I'm not sure what to do here. I've seemed to have lost everything. And he said, well, it's actually not an issue because we've been backing you up with Retrospect, with the proactive script. I got a backup from last Friday. So I said, great, what do I do? And he said, download the client software. I said, great. And he said, okay, I see you. I'm going to start the restore. And within an hour or two later, all my data was right back to where it was. He called me up, said, hey, reboot your system. And everything was right where I left it to begin with. So very early on, I understood the benefits of these backups and the lacking of a lot of these companies to understand the need to make sure that this data is correctly protected. So, it went from where I would have been sitting there for, I don't know, some of the data I never would have gotten back, all the information I had, it would have been starting from day one, basically, to within an hour, I was kind of back up and running and emails connected up and back to work. So very, very important to get this data. And this is where, when you're having these kind of issues, again, whether it's a remote worker, whether it's somebody that's coming in and out of the network, whether it's somebody that's being relied on themselves to protect their own files, the proactive backup script is a solution for them. So this script allows you to, as opposed to being in a normal backup window, it allows you to actually make sure that all these backups are covered within one, regardless of when they're coming in and out of the network. So it's supposed to be in a backup window from whatever 8 at night till 8 in the morning. It says, look, we want to back you up once a day. So as I'm going out of the network, as I was traveling, when I took off on that Friday before the trip, it actually was able to go out there, see me, back me up, and I didn't even know what was going on. It was just all happening in the background. And had they waited to back up at night, I never would have gotten a backup to happen because I took my laptop home with me every single day. So it said, make sure that all these workstations and machines that would otherwise be starved out of the network backups are still getting backed up. And it also reprioritizes. So as I'm traveling and going in and out of the network, if I was gone for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, at times, as soon as I came back, I would say, you know what? We're actually going to, we see you out there. You haven't been backed up a week. We're going to actually reprioritize things and get you backed up first. So it makes a very simple solution to make sure that the volumes that might otherwise be ignored are going to be backed up without you having to do any manual intervention to make sure that they're getting backed up. So some of the cool benefits. And again, you guys will have questions at the end. So if you have any questions, just let us know. I just want to give you kind of a backdrop of what a proactive backup is. And then from there, kind of tell you some of the new cool features. And then Rob will show actually the demo of that. So, proactive has a lot of benefits to it. Again, in number one, the ability to actually back up according to need. So as opposed to just going through machines 1 through 20 and 1 through 20 on a daily basis, you go, okay, our highest priority is 1 and 2, and then 19 and 20, we'll back up to them if we ever get a chance. It actually can reprioritize, again, according to need. It has the ability to check back, so they can also keep an eye out, and if in fact you disconnect and stuff from the network, if I'm in the middle of a backup, I don't know when, when the backups are kicking on at some level. And so if you're sitting there and disconnecting from the network, it has the ability to check back in and say, great, we see where we left off and we're going to start again. We actually had the mayor of a large city that the IT guys said, look, we cannot get this guy backed up. No matter what we do, he disconnects in the middle of it. It ruins the backups. He we'll start a backup and we'll try to do it when he's there, but he's never connected to the network unless he wants to be, and we can't get this guy no matter what the deal is. And so they were able to set up a proactive script for him. So they said, look, regardless what is, as soon as he connects in, we want to go out there and make sure we're backing this guy up. We don't need him to be aware of it. We don't want him to have to click on anything. We just want it to happen in the background regardless. Again, a solution for that, the need to be able to make sure that when this guy's computer does go down, when the mayor of the city goes down, that they don't have to explain to him, well, we mentioned 20 times that, you needed to stay connected to the network while we did the backup. And his only thing was going to say, look, I don't know what the issue is, but I need my stuff back. And so that's a no-win scenario that's now going to be a win utilizing proactive scripts. It also allows you to, you can actually separate clients into different groups. So if you go, maybe we want to have our sales guys being backed up once a day, but we got our accounting people that we like to be backed up once an hour. So you can actually create different scripts and different groups to better optimize your backups. And again, if in fact you need to speed things up, you can be selective in what you're doing. So, although I get a full backup done all the time, if you say, look, we want to do, yes, full backups on a weekly basis or a daily basis or every couple of days, but there's certain files out there that we'd like to back up every hour to make sure that if in fact something happened, we don't have to lose 8 hours of this guy's work regardless. Then you actually have the ability to set up selectors. And even in large environments, you can even very simply with Retrospect set up a second backup server to go out there and actually split the load. Again, very, very simple scheduling in regards to, you basically say, look, here's one I want to back up that's between these windows. And again, Ron will show you more details on how to get it all set up and everything, but just a nice overview here. When you want it active, always active. Maybe during the middle of the day, you're going, between 10 and 2, we're kind of on a high processing time. Everybody's here, they're all working. So can we just ignore the proactive script between these times? And then from there, other than that, we want to watch for them 24/7. So very easy to quickly set up a schedule for it to say, look, again, you don't have to be here from what's our backup window, 7 at night, when's the last person come in, when's the last person show up, first person show up. You just basically say, we want to back them up daily, we want to back them up hourly, we want to back them up every 2 days, and go from there. And really, the proactive backup, if we did name it today, we'd probably call it like policy backup. So you basically just create a policy of what you want to do. I want these machines being backed up every day. And then the Retrospect takes care of everything else behind it. So it makes it, again, very nice from the fact that you don't need to set any sort of exact time. You say, okay, Warner, when just like this training today, when are you going to be available to take care of this training? It's not necessary to say, look, we're going to take care of this. And so we just know he needs to be backed up, once a day, or, once a day or as often as possible, or as soon as we see him on there. So again, very quick scheduling, again, without needing a specific time of when I'm showing up, when I'm not showing up, when I'm traveling, when I'm not traveling. The proactive script's going to be keeping an eye out for me. And it also makes it easy that if in fact you have, again, one of the main things, we have the 3-2-1 rule, right? Which means you want 3 copies of your data. You want to have at least 2 different types of media sets, and you want to have one that's disconnected from the network. So Retrospect, the proactive script also makes it very easy from the fact that as you're doing your backups, maybe you need to rotate a couple drives on and off site or whatever, and somebody forgets, maybe they're sick, who knows what, forgets to bring the media on site. Retrospect's the proactive script will keep an eye on and say, we do see some storage out here. We're going to actually back up to this. And then once the correct media comes back in, it's going to update that to get it up to date again. So, and that's regardless whether it's going to direct attached, NAS or cloud-based storage. So again, makes it very easy to make sure you have these redundant copies of your backup data. And just, too, we are going to have this deck available for you guys. Again, it's going to be loaded up on the site. So if you do want to be able to run through this and get some of the specific information, again, feel free to reach out to us, or, again, just take a look for it. We'll have all these targeted trainings. We had this one and some other ones all listed up on our site. So when to use proactive backup, this is just, again, a regular backup script is great. If you have a server sitting there, Exchange, SQL, your main boxes, it's a desktop that's going to be connected to that network, and you go, yes, we can technically set them up with a proactive script, but we know they're going to be there all night. Nobody's going to be on them, and we have access to them. Then just set up a general backup script. It makes it very easy to just target them, grab them, back them up, and do within a window, so that way during the main processing hours, you don't even need to deal with them. The proactive comes in, again, when, these desktop laptops are coming out of the network. when volumes need to be make sure that are prioritized. So again, you're not running out of a backup window and sitting there saying, well, you know what, we almost got this guy again tomorrow. Oh yeah, he shows up at noon every day, and every time by the time we get to him, it's at the end of the day, and we keep getting half backups. It actually, again, with the checkpoint resource, with the ability to watch for them as they come in on the network, we can make sure those volumes that would normally, again, be starved be backed up. And again, to be able to schedule the user to be able to do their own restores and their own backups to say, look, hey, I'm available, I want to get backed up. It's a very, very powerful scripting capability. Now, in our latest release and stuff, we now have a new BackupBot, which basically it's a AI capability for Retrospect. And what this does is it takes this whole proactive script along with a lot of these other new features, and it makes the proactive script faster and it makes it smarter. So it takes, and it from an AI capability, just so you guys understand, it's not something real complicated or saying. Basically, it's the ability for the backup server to learn, to sit there and say, okay, we see what's happened in the past, and based on the past backups, based on how often we have access to this machine, how large the backups are, what kind of pipeline we're dealing with, everything else, we're going to take all these things into consideration to when we're doing the next backup. And it can adjust and keep adjusting itself to make sure that these backups are in the most optimized ways to go, look, we know this person's going to be available. Yes, we back them up generally once a day, but this person pops in and really not much is happening on this machine first thing in the morning. So as opposed to waiting for a full 24 hours when we backed up last time, let's get this backup taken care of right now. So that way, when we know this larger backup that's going to be coming in a little later, we have all the processes available to start backing it up. So again, this AI capability takes care of a lot of this thought process, so you don't have to sit there and analyze it for you. So it's basically optimizing your backup window by utilizing this basically decision tree algorithm to allow you to best optimize your backups across the board. Again, for these machines that otherwise said would not normally get backed up, or if they are getting backed up, or definitely take a lot of work on your side to sit there and say, let's make sure we're targeting them exactly when we can target them. Now, the AI capabilities does all that for you. It also now has the ability that with our latest versions, we now have the ability to detect both local and remote clients. Again, we have a remote training of how to do remote backups, so feel free to go online and check that out as well. But again, when I was coming out of the office, it would be like, and that said save me way back, and I said my full backups have saved me multiple times. But now, regardless of whether I'm sitting local on the local network or if I'm remote at the office, they have the ability to actually keep an eye out for me and back me up regardless of where it is I'm starting. Again, with that checkpoint restart, so if I'm getting backed up in the office and I disconnect and I go and plug back in later on, it'll say, great, we see where we left off. We're going to start backing up from there again. If I'm disconnected, it allows for these backups to continue on instead of sitting there saying, okay, great, we see him again, let's start our backups again. No, it'll say, we see a snapshot, we see what we've backed up already, let's move from there and continue on with where we left off. And these new BackupBot, which is basically what we call our new AI capabilities, the ProactiveAI and storage group support, which again, it supports the ability to back up these things to public or private cloud targets, to disk targets. So you could say, look, we got these media sets available for you. And so as these things are getting backed up and we got a remote client sitting out there, we're actually going to utilize that, or a bunch of clients. Doesn't, obviously, I'm talking just from one point of view. But again, if we have a bunch of remote laptops, everything else, we can set up this cloud target and utilize these new capabilities to target them to this cloud backup. And then, when we're local, we can have them back up to the local disk or cloud as well. So a lot of these new features just across the board are making for very simple, powerful backups. You know, storage groups we'll get into in a minute, but again, it's a supported capability. It allows you to basically grab these proactive one and say, you know, we have this large volume out there, and we're going to take all these machines and back them up to the same one. And again, instead of you having to sit there and say, let's back up this one first, this one then, this one, whatever, the retrospect intelligence goes out there and says, you know what, we're going to go out there utilizing our AI capabilities, monitor what needs to be backed up first, and analyze it, start backing up, and again, rotate through all the clients that need to be backed up, even though you're just targeting this one specific volume, again, whether it's a local disk or a cloud-based one. So, you know, overall, again, what this does, it really means that you're extending your window of backup, you're optimizing your windows backed up, you know, as opposed to, again, previous where you're going to look, I want to be backed up once a day, and yesterday was backed up at 2:30. So today we're going to start looking for it at 2:30 again. No, with the new AI capabilities, you know, somebody wants to show up early and they get there first thing in the morning and go, yeah, we backed them up. But you know what? We have processes available right now. We see them. Let's get them backed up right now, as opposed to waiting till 2:30 when maybe we need to back up somebody else that is a higher priority. So it basically extends that window for you to make sure that these guys that normally wouldn't be able to, you know, if they waited till 2:30 and all of a sudden you had this one person that came in that hasn't been in the office for a week and they're starting the backup, now it's got to wait on that to get the backup taken care of first. Now, again, it's tracking this stuff, saying, you know what, let's knock out these other 10 first really quick, make sure we got their backups, and then let's go over to the next one when it becomes available. Again, optimization and ease of use to allow you to simply set these things up, these clients up with these proactive backups, and then have the AI capabilities take care of things for you. Some of the other new features with this, we actually have the ability to, for wake on LAN capabilities, which means that basically Retrospect used to be able to, when we would go out there and like kind of look for a client to be backed up, and we saw one that wasn't available, we would kind of keep looking for it, saying, where is it, where is it, where is it, where is it, you know, and keep looking for this thing. Now we have the ability to actually go in there and say, you know what, we're going to attempt to do this. We're going to attempt to do it a few times. And if, in fact, we can't get a hold of that, instead of keep spinning wheels looking for this one client that needs to be backed up, let's just move on, get the other ones going, and then we'll go back to that one and see if it's available at a later point. So, again, much more efficient, makes for much faster backups. It allows Retrospect to process the data that needs to be processed, as opposed to spending a bunch of time looking for machines that need to be backed up. It could say, let's back up what we can see right now, let's back up what we can have available, and then go back and look for the ones that maybe are harder to get a hold of. So again, just want to give a quick overview of the proactive backups in general, just one of the many features of Retrospect. Again, now with our partnership with having the Drobo and Nexan hardware available, and these synergies between ours, where we're going to be able to better even synchronize what we're doing between our two companies, and regards to price points, regards to integration, everything else. We just have so many new features that we really want to make sure that we're getting all these across you guys as quickly as possible, you know. So if you guys have questions afterwards, let me know. Let me get this right over to Robin, and he will show you a quick demo of the ProactiveAI scripts, and we'll go from there. Robin?
Okay. Let's see. You gonna share my screen for me?
I will do that. Let's see. Waiting for to control your scope. Okay, so, and
I think you should be able to give me control there.
All right. I'm working on that. Let's see.
I can control your screen, but you need to give me sharing capability.
All right. It says like you could take control of my screen, but that's probably not what you want.
No, no. You need to set it to allow me to share it. So probably you have to stop sharing first.
Okay. Yeah, let's try that. There we go.
There we go.
All right. And just, guys, with some of this stuff, we're with our new stuff, we're dealing with some of these new technologies and stuff that we use one type of meeting program. Now we switch to another one. So some of these things are a little new to us. So Robin.
Okay. So you should be able to see my screen now.
Let's see. I think we can. Let's see. Yep. I see it.
Okay, great. Okay, hello everybody. We're going to get started. So when you open Retrospect the first time, it basically looks like the window we see on the screen right now. And setting up Proactive Backup is very simple. All I need to go to is on the left side, I'm going to go to Automate, and I'm going to go to Proactive Backup, and I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to give the script a name, and I'm going to call this something like Nightly Backup, and click OK. And then for sources, I need to decide what I'm going to back up. So when I click on sources, I can choose the C drive if I want to. I can add other computers on the network. So if I previously added Retrospect client machines to my copy of Retrospect, I can add those machines as sources. And then I've also set up some folders already using the subvolume button. And so I've got a whole bunch of folders here that I can add also as sources. So now I've got a script with a long list of machines or folders or disks that need to get backed up. And this will allow Retrospect to go through each of those different volumes and back them up based on a priority. Which source or which machine hasn't been backed up in the longest amount of time is going to have priority over something that got backed up last night. So I've created all of those sources, and I'm going to go to Destinations, and I'm going to create a new destination. And I can choose tape, or I can choose disk, or I can write it out to the cloud. Today we're going to use a Drobo, so I'm going to choose disk. And I'm going to call this Proactive Backup Demo. And I'm going to go to Select, and I'm going to choose my drive. And in my case, I've got a NAS device, and so I need to get the IP address of that NAS. And so let me go over here. I'm going to go to Advanced. And I'm going to enter in the full UNC path. In this case, it's the share name is called Backup. I'm going to click OK. And Retrospect is now going to ask me, how much of the drive I want to utilize for storage. And I'm going to check this box down here for storage groups, which is an option that's new to Retrospect 16. And it's going to allow me to back up as many as 16 different computers simultaneously. So I can back up 16 different volumes or 16 different disks. It really is going to depend on the amount of RAM I have. But by creating a storage group, I can have a single destination, and it can write as many as 16 backups all at once. I have the ability to encrypt the data if I want to encrypt it. I can set up backup policy or a backup retention policy, and we're just going to leave that as the default. And then we have a catalog file, which is an index of our data, and we're just going to say Finish. And then I'm going to choose our destination. Now I can have multiple destinations if I want to, and that would allow me to rotate one on-site and one off-site, or I could have one be on-site and one be on the cloud. But for the demo today, we're just going to use a single destination. We're going to use all files, which is the default. Under Options, with Proactive Backup, we have the ability to decide how often we want to back up each source. So the default is once a day. I can do it as frequently as once an hour if I want to, or I could even say every 99 days or once every 99 days. But we'll just use the default of every once a day. We also have options for things like data compression, where we can compress the data before it's written to the drive. And then we have different verification types of normal verification, which is a byte-by-byte thorough verify. We have a media verification, which uses MD5 digest, and then we can turn verify off if we want. And we also have the ability to use block level incremental backup, so it only copies the changed blocks of the files. So we're going to use the default options, and then under schedule, the default for a proactive schedule is to always be active 24/7. I can also customize it and tell it, I want to run between, let's say, 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day. So the script runs during business hours. Or I could reverse this and let's say I only want it to run during at night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I have the ability to change out what I'm going to do, but then I could even have it on weekends be always active on weekends. So I have the ability to set up custom schedules for the proactive backup if I want, but today we're just going to leave this as the default, and we're going to set it to always active, and just click OK. Now, once I click OK, it will start proactive backup, and we're going to see this under the activity monitor under the proactive tab. So right now you can see that it's blank because we haven't started proactive backup, but as soon as I click OK, this window will populate. And so we give it a moment, and it'll start populating. And it's going to go through, and it's going to start backing up all of these different sources. And its goal is going to be to try and back up these things in multiple executions because I've configured it to use a storage group. And so it's going to start polling each of the different client machines that are on the network. I happen to know that almost all of the clients that are in this list are unavailable. So as they're unavailable, it'll report source. And the ones that are available, it will then start showing that they're executing. And I can see the executing operations over here. And in my case, it's now preparing for open file backup, and then it's going to start going through. And so I think the next one might be available. We'll see in a moment. My machine only allows as many as 4 executions running at once because of the amount of RAM I have. But if you have as much as 16 gigs of RAM, then you can run as many as 16 executions simultaneously. The polling will, the speed of the polling will vary depending on the speed of the backup server and the speed of the network and that sort of thing. I'm running on a pretty slow environment. Now, the other thing I'm going to pop up over here while we're waiting for this is the Retrospect Management Console at console.retrospect.com. This is a web-based reporting tool for Retrospect, and the web-based reporting will show you in real time the different backup operations that are going on for your backup servers that you're managing with a single Retrospect console. And the management console gives you reporting capability. It shows you storage predictions. It shows you machines that haven't been backed up in the longest amount of time. And you can manage multiple backup servers from a single web-based UI. So we can see here now it found another machine that says it's ready, and we're waiting on that. And my machine's getting a little bit tied up because I'm running on this very slow virtual machine. But as we wait a moment, it'll start populating out. And so really that's the heart of proactive backup, is that its ability to poll the network for machines that have not been backed up in the longest amount of time, and then prioritize those machines based on how long it's been since their last backup. So we can see here that we've got this Office iMac is now ready, and we can see it's now appearing as an execution, and in a few moments it's going to appear over here on the web-based console as it goes through. And if a machine were to, let's say, unplug itself from the network, the backup will time out, but then Retrospect will continue to look for that machine, and in about 30 minutes, if the machine happens to return to the network, it will find that machine and then retry the backup. So rather than a traditional backup script that just skips a machine that may have failed and then gives up, proactive backup can retry later on in the day to make sure that that machine gets backed up in its entirety. And so there's a lot of additional flexibility. And we can see now a whole bunch more have populated. We can go over here, we can see there's more executing, and it's running multiple executions. And I think we might even see probably some other servers popping up over here. Here's Werner's. Looks like Werner started a backup over on his machine. And so we're seeing some active operations on there through the management console, because we can view multiple backup servers as well through the Retrospect management console. And then we can see some of these have become busy because the different volumes are unavailable, that sort of thing. I'm actually going to stop this one, and we can let it see what it does after we stop an execution. And this should stop in just a moment. But I think as we, let's see there, it canceled. And now that this one canceled, if I return to proactive backup, what we're going to see is that it's going to show that that machine is now in a retry state, or will be retried later on. And then the other disks, it will then start backing those up as well. and we can see all the different operations. Also, with this management console through the web browser, we have the ability to pause and stop backups as well. And then additional capability will be available in future releases. So we can see here, because I stopped that operation, the proactive backups now shows a retry. And if I click on it, it'll tell me that it's going to retry in about a half hour. So we can see a lot of that sort of interaction as the proactive backup adjusts itself depending on the different operations. So while this is going, Werner, did we have any questions? I think,
all right, sorry, unmuting myself. For yes, actually, we did have you. So again, ProactiveAI said again works like a question. It looks like you already answered. Works seamlessly with storage groups.
Right. Exactly. With the storage groups, it allows you to run multiple executions to a single destination. If I created the script with multiple destinations, then that would give me even more flexibility. I could, unplug a drive, take it off site, and they would automatically find the destination drive for the other alternate backup set that happens to be in that script. So we end up with a lot of flexibility, whether you're using a proactive script or whether you're not using a proactive script.
Okay, and then a question, what's the process that ProactiveAI uses to decide what backup is next?
Ultimately, it's the longest amount of time since the last backup. When you look inside reports, and then you go to what's called the backup report, the backup report has a bunch of information that tells you things like the number of elapsed days since the backup. So here's an email account as an example, and it's been 5 days since that machine was last backed up, or that item was last backed up. Well, if it's been 5 days since this was last backed up, it's going to have a higher priority over something that got backed up last night. And so that's part of how the prioritization happens, is based on how long it's been since something was last backed up.
Great. And just we do have a knowledge base article too that goes through the whole thing. If you really want to know the steps of verifying when the back window, which ones are available, prioritizing by day. So we have a full knowledge base article and stuff that you can check out on our site. All this specific lists and details of exactly how it does work.
Right. So over here in the knowledge base, there's a deep dive into ProactiveAI. And so this article goes into a bunch of specifics of, the how proactive backup works.
Okay, and to confirm, the ProactiveAI, it works with both local and remote clients?
Exactly. So if you're using remote clients, and a remote client is really defined as a machine that's outside of your physical network. So if you have a machine, let's say it's in a hotel or someone's working from home or something like that, then that's considered to be a remote client. And the only way to back up those remote clients is through a proactive script. So you would add all of those remote clients basically into a proactive script. The client will phone home and tell the backup server that it's available, and then the backup server will attempt to back it up. Somebody actually mentioned that they thought it was cool. They could see the multiple scripts, everything in the management console. So, and again, that does handle. So if they had backup servers running at different sites, different types of proactive versus standard, everything else, that all will show up in that one management console. Right. Exactly.
So very cool. I think that's it on the question side.
Any additional questions from the people that are attending?
Looks like it. All right. Was there anything else that you need to show or anything, Robin? Or looks?
I don't think right now. I think ultimately, the idea is you want to make sure that through proactive backup, the retrospect is always going to be running in the background, looking for machines. But you can set the backup window, and you can decide the number of hours in the day you want it to be running, and you can set the frequency of how often you want it to back up machines, whether it's once a day or once an hour or once every 5 days. So you have that flexibility, and I think that's one of the key areas of proactive backup that we care about.
Well, thank you. Thank you for showing us the demo, Robin. And you guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to your sales team, or NA sales Retrospect, or sales of Retrospect for the rest of the world. you have any questions, we can answer that. If you have you want specific data, if you want to know where you can find this link and the other targeted trainings, we'll get that over to you, or whatever else you need in regards to Retrospect or any of the store-centric products. And again, thank you so much, Robin. I hope you guys see some of the very, very nice benefits of the proactive scripting capabilities and how this can really take care of a lot of the pain points right now that you're dealing with when trying to completely protect these endpoint clients that right now are limited in their ability to being protected. So thank you guys for showing up. Robin, again, thank you for showing that demo. Me, Robin, all of us were available if you have any questions, and the rest of you have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.